Okay, so the topic I'm presenting is similar to what we just heard. It's also about policy uncertainty, misinformation, as we call it, and retirement age reform in Germany. So we do look at a different country. So let me first start with a little motivation about. Okay, is this okay? There's more. Okay. Yes, great. Okay, so retirement age reforms are a major policy tool around the world. So we found this little overview, and you see that in many countries, there are already decided retirement age increases. I think just recently Denmark decided to raise it to 70, which is now the highest in Europe. And so this slide just should showcase that retirement age reforms are one of the most ongoing major policy reforms about the retirement system, and they are very, very much used around the world. So let's look at, or don't. Yeah, okay. So let's look at Germany. In Germany right now, we are in a transition path for the what we call statutory retirement age. So the statutory retirement age is in Germany the age at which you can claim full pension without any deduction. And there was a reform in 2007 which gradually increases this age up to 67. So we are right now in this transition path, and there is it will end in 2032, but there are many debates in Germany if this should be further increased, and these debates are, as we argue, very salient. And there is a second policy parameter I'm going to talk about in the German system today, and that's the early retirement penalty. And that's the penalty which applies to the pension if you retire before that age. So if you retire 1 year early, your pension gets deducted by 3.6% every month until the rest of your life. And so this penalty kind of gives bite to this SRA. So if this penalty would be higher, then of course it would be even worse to retire early. If it would be lower, then it wouldn't matter that much if the statutory retirement age increases. Yes, so what our research question is, our main idea for our research questions were, so retirement policies affect individuals at the end of their working lives. So any effects which happen during the life cycle, so during the working life, they must depend on the comprehension and the expectations about the retirement policies. So in our first research question, we ask, how do the retirement policy beliefs evolve over the life cycle? And to find that out, we conduct a survey in Germany, which I'm going to talk later about, to elicit policy beliefs in the German population. And having these elicited beliefs, we now ask first in the second research question, so if we explicitly model belief formation or policy beliefs in a structural life cycle model, how does that affect any evaluation of retirement age reforms? And the third research question we're going to look at, so how does policy uncertainty and misinformation in these policy beliefs affect, what is the effect if we remove these in a model and see what happens? So we evaluate announcement strategy, which is one way to take away this uncertainty, and population debiasing about the misinformation. So these are our three main research questions. And I will first start with the survey, and then I'm going to talk you through the model and how our analysis plays out. So our preview of findings is, first of all, we find that people expect further increases of the retirement age uncertainty. People expect further reforms of the retirement age, but their policy uncertainty and the misinformation decreases over life. The beliefs in the so if we account for subjective uncertainty in the evaluation of policy uncertainty, if we account in the evaluation of retirement age reforms for policy uncertainty and misinformation, the modeling of beliefs attenuates any effects we would predict with these models. So including policy uncertainty and misinformation dampens the effects we would predict of a retirement age reform. And third, if we remove policy misinformation and policy uncertainty and misinformation. This leads to early retirement, and it shifts the effects of, or it spreads out the effect of retirement age reforms over the life cycle and shifts consumption over the life. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. I have to. Okay, sorry. Just have to find myself. Okay, so let me skip the related literature in the interest of time, and let me just talk straight away about the policy beliefs. Okay, so our policy beliefs, I'm first going to talk about our data and how we identify policy beliefs in our data. And we identify the evolution over the life cycle by the variation of age in our survey. And so we see how different people in different age groups and different distances to the retirement age actually what their belief is about the retirement system. So we elicit two things. So first of all, the uncertainty, so a subjective probability distribution over individuals, how the SRAs will develop in the future. And second, misinformation, so this knowledge about the ERP, so this knowledge about the bite of the SRA. So how important is this SRA? And then I'm going to show you in this section how we formalize that and bring it into a structural life cycle model and actually be able to explicitly model the belief formation. So for uncertainty, we use an autoregressive process. And this process updates as current policy changes. And for misinformation, we classify individuals as informed individuals about the ERP and uninformed individuals. And over the life cycle, individuals can be informed at random. Okay, so first we ask individuals under the current system, their retirement age is increased to 67. How likely do you think the following three statutory retirement ages will be at the time of your retirement? Please answer so that the three statements add up to 100%. And we give them three scenarios, 67, 68, and 69 and more. So just for the setting of these interviews, so this is the SERP innovation sample. In the SERP innovation sample, people go to your home, they ask with you, they go with you through the questions, and they fill out the survey. So it's a very, very high intensive survey. So we trust that data very much, that actually what people state works. And we also don't see any answers which are not adding up to 100%. So you see really if people are not clear about what to do, they get guided. Okay, so this is the mean of our data. So we didn't do anything. We just meaned out the answers. And you already see that over the birth cohorts from old to young, so from the people close to retirement to people far away from retirement, this probability mass people put on kind of the no reform scenario that it stays at 67, it decreases over age. Yes?
The fact that people are uncertain about the retirement age and misinformed about the penalty emerge from the survey, or did you structure the survey as to the case?
What do you mean it emerges from the survey?
The people are well informed about the retirement age, right? So then they have possibly specified beliefs about how it will evolve. Whereas on the early retirement penalty, you're just looking at whether people are misinformed, but not about their beliefs, how it will evolve. Is it something that emerges from the survey, or is it something that you design your survey assuming that this will be the case?
So for the policy, for the statutory retirement age, there is no truth, right? Like you can't say it will be that in 20 years because we don't know, right? So that's actually uncertain. So the question I will show you in a second about the penalty, you will see that we ask about the current system now. So this is kind of knowledge of the current system. Yes, so yeah, we did ask them kind of, yeah, we designed that this part will be the policy uncertain and the other will be the knowledge because here we ask about the future. So
that uncertainty instead about future, because here you're telling them the current retirement age, right? Whereas you assume that people would know the current retirement probability.
So
not for belief about the future retirement probability, retirement penalty.
Yeah, so the 67, it's very salient in Germany. Maybe I should emphasize that more. And these retirement ages, they are actually names of different reforms. So there is a reform for early retirement. It's called retirement with 63. And there is racing to 67. This was always called retirement with 67. So this is regular in the news. And we just argue that that's very salient. And we also tell them here, but that's more because of this transition path. We want to know what they think the policy changes and not so much what their personal.
And not about
I will show you what we asked about that, but we didn't ask about if that changes. No. Okay. So let's try to formalize policy uncertainty given this data. So given this individual distributions over different outcomes. So first, we estimate. We fit truncated normals to these individual distributions. And from that, we can recover a subjective mean and a subjective forecast variance about the policy at the time of retirement. Then, in the second step, we formulate a model of belief formation into the future as a random walk with drift. And then we estimate from this random walk the alpha and the variance of the epsilon. So SRAT is the policy, is the statutory retirement right now. And so we say the statutory retirement age tomorrow is kind of a fixed deterministic expected increase plus some noise. So this is how we think about these expectations. So it's always important, of course, what the current policy, what the current statutory retirement age is to kind of have an idea about like how do people think it's going to develop. And this formulation gives us well-known properties of the random walk. So for every time period in the future, the expectation is just the current statutory retirement age plus the distance to this future period times this expected increase alpha. And for the policy and for the uncertainty, the variance is also the distance to this future period times this sigma squared. So this alpha and sigma squared, we're now going to estimate to kind of, we estimate it and to have parameters which reflect the policy expectation and the uncertainty of individuals. Yeah, I think in the previous paper, this was kind of a Bernoulli, right? And could always increase by only 1 year. Yeah, so for us, it could be negative, right? It could go down. I have next an illustration of these expectations with the estimated parameters. So that is what we estimate. You see from the confidence interval, so the blue line is the expectation. And so the confidence interval is yes. Okay. So if you are 30 years old and your current SRA is 67, then your expectation lies between 68 and 68. So it's kind of 68.25. So that's what you expect the retirement age will be when you are 30. But your confidence interval, where it also could go, is also below the current age. So it could also decrease. So this is a kind of incorporated in this random walk. Of course, you could argue that this might not be a fair assumption, but yeah. So this is how we decided on that model. And then as we see one kind of ages over the life cycle and the policy doesn't get updated, the expectation is always corrected towards the current policy environment. So because this here is an expectation of 0.04, yes. So every 10 years, it would be 0.4 years. As there's no increase in the current policy, the expectation just corrects itself down. And in the end, at 63, where we assume there will be no more uncertainty, the expectation and the current policy actually meet. Yes. Yes, so we use yearly data. So yeah, you can be over the threshold of the SRA, and then if your SRA would be a fraction, as you just outlined, and you would be, let's say, 66.5 and you're 66, then if you retire with 66, you get some deduction, and if you retire with 67, then you would get some bonus, yeah. But this is actually something we want to work on. So this is actually something we are not very happy with. And so this is one of the major to-dos to actually get a finer timing on the retirement decision, because we did a lot of work, which I will show you in a second, about the retirement decision and to get a really good timing there, because it is so important with this penalty, right? Yes. Okay. That is policy uncertainty. Okay, and so now the penalty. So for the penalty, we asked them about the current system. What percentage do you think the pension insurance will deduct from your monthly pension if you retire 1 year before your regular retirement age? And the true answer to this is 3.6%. So, and this is, again, just the data we have clustered by cohorts. And we see clearly that a lot of people, even like at younger ages, they have way like too high ideas about this retirement penalty, but even close to retirement. So these people actually very close to the time when they can make use of this penalty, or where they can retire and get this penalty. The mean is still, and the median is still above the truth. So there are a lot of people who are not informed, even very close to retirement. So this is what we call misinformation, and we see this decrease over the life cycle, both in the mean and the median. So the people close to retirement, 1956 and before, and these 5-year cohorts, so these are very close to retirement. It goes down here, but it's still above the truth, right? So still a lot of people, and you see even here, a lot of people still have very high ideas. So they didn't inform themselves clearly about like what would be the effect of retiring. Yes.
Especially benefit, you asking the person how much will you profit your pension when you retire. So that is what for the younger generations in 30 years time. In which case, maybe there's like trying to forecast what's going to benefit. Maybe they know the truth, but they're forecasting that.
So there's a little sentence before saying, yeah, that so if you retire right now before the statutory retirement age, then there's something deducted. So it's made clear. So there's a little bit of an introduction there as well. Okay, so this is our raw data again. So now we're going to formalize that. And so misinformation, we're going to formalize in informed and uninformed individuals. So we choose a threshold of 5%, and we chose this threshold such that the mean of the people who said 5% or less, it's actually the truth, right? So there were people who said something below the truth. There were people who said something, said a lot above. So when we choose 5, overall cohorts, the mean of those is around 3.6%, so that's pretty close. So we chose this threshold and say, okay, everybody below has kind of a reasonable idea about what this penalty is, and so we classify them as informed, and the rest we classify as uninformed, and then we estimate with method of moments the initial share of people informed, and then a constant hazard rate, so a constant information rate over the life cycle, which makes people informed. And of course, if you are informed, this is an absorbing state. You're not going to get uninformed. Again, you're not going to forget again about the policy environment. You then just know this 3.6%. So we have this information process over the life cycle. Okay, so these are the two things for policy uncertainty and misinformation that we now gonna use and put into a structural model. So we have this SRAT and the expectation of the future, how this evolves. This is our policy uncertainty, and we have this informed state, which kind of captures this information state about the penalty. So these are the two states we're now gonna carry over to the structural model. Okay. So we model men and women from age 30 until their stochastic death, or at most until 100. And we model individual decisions by a household head. So we, for kind of each household, we once treat them as independent observations, and we say, okay, once the woman is making the decision, making the consumption decision for the household, and once the man is making the consumption decision, and also additionally their labor supply decision. And there is a stochastic process for marriage, so for the partner for marrying or for divorcing. And once you have a partner, this partner has a deterministic income. And then our individuals differ on a variety of states. First of all, well, sex and education. So we have education types. And then we have endogenous investment into human capital. So individuals differ with work experience over the life cycle. And together with the partner state, this determines the household income. So given your experience and your choice, you get your household income. They differ on wealth. We do have a health process in that model. So we want to model that actually individuals who are in bad health, they would their utility of work should be higher, and they would like to retire earlier. And we do have a job offer process to kind of capture the employment patterns just before retirement, because more people are there unemployed, which we'll see in the second in the data. And then additionally, we have this policy state and this information state. Individuals make annual decisions about working, so full-time, part-time, unemployed, or retirement. And they can only work if they do have a job offer and retirement is absorbing, or they can retire early if they are disabled. So our health process has a disabled state where individuals actually can choose retirement if they are disabled, and then they choose a consumption and savings level as a consumption level and save the rest. Okay, so this is our utility function. We use an additive separable utility function. So first you have the standard utility of consumption, and then minus the disutility of the choice. Consumption is scaled by equivalent scale. So this is all very standard and nothing very fancy. So we just use this standard but very, very rich model, and then introduce these policy states. And utility at death has a bequest intensity, and yeah, also pretty standard. For the budget equation, we have this household income, which features these benefits and taxes. And so we have actually a very detailed system of the benefit and tax system of Germany in there. And also for the retirement income, we do have a detailed modeling on how this depends on the working life and on the working experience and on the wages accumulated over the life cycle. And so this model setup and this timing setup allows us to use the DCGM algorithm to solve it, and use a software we program for that, which you can use to, if you want to have your own DCGM model, you can use that software. It's yeah. Anyways, okay. So this setup allows us to do so, and yeah, we have this very detailed mirroring of the tax and transfer system, which is all in this budget equation. Okay, then for our stochastic processes, we have job offer and job destruction, which I think I'm gonna. So there's nothing really fancy about it. It's just that, like, we don't model children. Children are a deterministic function of your age, if your partner state, your education type, and your sex. So we kind of mirror that the distribution in German population. So we don't have like fertility in the model, but we are not interested in that kind of decision, right? We are more interested in fitting the overall labor supply decisions over the life cycle. And then for our health process, we have this disabled state in there, which is actually unobserved. And I will show you in a second how we estimate this disability eligibility. Okay, so let's talk about the estimation. And first, which data sets we use. So we use the German socioeconomic panel, which is a very rich, long, ongoing panel. And we get all the choices and state variables out of that, and also the derived variables, so the number of children we see, and like what income the partner has, and like the whole set of variables from the two or the members of the household. We use from the German Statistical Office the mortality table to be able to have a good survival process. And then what is actually pretty nice, we are able to link the GSUP to the German pension insurance. And there we can actually observe very detailed and very exact decisions about the timing of retirement. So we can estimate very precisely on that retirement decision, and hope with a more fine-grained timing we can actually match these moments much better. We use this span of years for estimation, and yeah, I think that is all about the data. Yeah, in the first step, outside of the model, we estimate partner transition, job separations, health and death. We have several income variables we estimate outside of the model, and then feed them all into the model. And then we use likelihood estimation to estimate 3 sets of parameters. First of all, the disutility parameters of work. And then 2 sets of unobserved transitions, so the disability pension eligibility and the job offer probability. So we don't observe job offers in the data because we don't know if people rejected a job offer, right? So we can't estimate that outside of the model. And for disability pension, we also only see the people who actually retire early, so who are able to do so, but we don't see if people did not apply for it. So these are the 2 kind of state variables we don't observe, and so we have to integrate over them in the likelihood function. What we also have to integrate over is the distribution of the informed states as the subcore, like the sub-innovation sample. This is where we got our information state, and we don't observe in the subcore if people are informed, so we don't know how they are informed about the retirement system. So we integrate over this distribution. Okay, so this is our choice fits. So for men, we actually do pretty well. We don't allow part-time for men just because the empirical evidence in Germany for part-time of men is just really, really low. So we don't do that. Yes. So in our model, individuals have a current policy state, and they have an expectation about the future policy state, right? And so everyone we observe in the data, we observe their policy state. We know what their statutory retirement age is, and we actually have some variation of that because we are in this transition phase right now, right? But we don't have in the estimation the informed state. But so in the model solution, individuals have these are either informed or uninformed, right? So in the model itself, people are informed. Yeah, so this was likelihood fits. So in the simulations, we always have to make an assumption about how the SRA involves, right? Because that's not clear. So this is kind of actually for our counterfactuals. Then we have to make explicit assumption how the SRA involves over time. But for the estimation with likelihood, you don't need to simulate, right? You just need to know what the expectations are from the individuals, and those we have. Great. Okay, so choice fits are very well, very good. And so how much time do I have left? 10 minutes. Okay. So let me come to the counterfactual. So now, as I said, we're going to have 2 sets of counterfactuals, and we first start with research question number 2. So that is how the influence of belief modeling, how beliefs influence an SRA increase. So how does the modeling of these beliefs affect any prediction we would do with a model about statutory retirement age increases? So we're going to look at 3 margins. We're going to look at savings, at the labor supply decision, at the retirement timing of uncertainty, and we compare always 2 models with and without uncertainty. And in the counterfactuals, so in the different simulations, all agents start with an SRA of 67. So they all start as 30 years old right now in the current regime. And then they have this expectation about the future, and then we're going to simulate different policies. So first of all, no increase, and then we compare this no increase scenario always with gradual increases to 68, 69, or 70. So we have these different SRA increases we're going to look at, and we're going to evaluate, and we're going to see how these beliefs matter in the evaluation of those. Okay, so these are the 3 margins we look at. So first, we see that both models predict an increase of savings when the retirement age is increased, but actually modeling uncertainty dampens this effect. So there is an overestimation in a model without uncertainty, and the reason is actually, if you think about it, pretty clear. So people have this uncertainty. They think the retirement age will increase in the future, right? So they're already preparing for that because they have that expectation that this will happen. And therefore, that if it's actually increased, they already kind of prepared, right? And then so their savings increase is not that strong because they are prepared already. We see the same for the working hours, and for the retirement age, we see interestingly there is not a real difference. But as I said before, we haven't done all what we would want to do about this retirement timing yet. But what is interestingly and also matches some findings, reduced some findings in Germany, that our predicted increase of retirement age for every year it increased. It's a bit more than 0.5, and actually there's a reduced form literature in Germany showing that for past increases, this is actually 0.5. So our model can kind of replicate that, and yeah, so individuals don't react one-to-one to statutory retirement age increases. They only increase by a little bit more than half a year. Okay. Then next research question is the effect of announcement timing. So now we are able to actually look at different announcements of an SRA increase and model then as that individuals after the announcement don't hold any uncertainty anymore about the future development of the SRA. So once it's raised, you kind of believe the government. It says, okay, it's 68 for you, and then you say, okay, that's 68, and I'm not going to have any more belief. And the baseline, which what we compared, is always just announcing just before the retirement age. So this kind of gives us a way of looking at these grandfathering rules, often implemented with retirement policy, that certain cohorts are not affected anymore, and we can just actually look at different announcement timings and see what the effects are of those. And again, everybody starts with 67, and then we look at different announcements with 35, 45, and 55. And we always look at an increase to 69, right? So once you reach this announcement age, you have uncertainty before, and then the government announces, okay, it's 69 now. And then from there on, you believe the government, and then you kind of optimize the rest of it. Okay, so these lines are different announcement strategies, and you see blue is not the earliest, red and green, and you see that actually very nice, that because as soon as there is an announcement, people start to deviate from the baseline, and they start saving more because now they realize, okay, there's going to be actually a retirement age increase, and they use these additional savings to then retire earlier, right? So they are, as soon as it is announced, they kind of start saving more because then later they can pay their deduction to retire early. Actually, this would also be nice to look at in a setting with informed and uninformed, but yeah, that's something we want now to exploit more with this counterfactual as well. But yeah, already you can see that the announcement kind of matters for how much people save and how much they're able to pay for earlier retirement. Okay, then we have a third counterfactual about misinformation, and that is the population debiasing. So what is very natural in these subjective bias literature, if you introduce a bias into a model, you're going to look what happens if I'm removing that bias. So in our counterfactual, everybody just starts informed, while in the baseline, we have this misinformation with random updating I introduced in the beginning. So agents start again with 67, and then we have these, the SRA beliefs are people hold policy uncertainty, and they hold that over the whole life cycle. But then the true SRA is increased to different levels, and we look at all these different scenarios. And then, so we see in the moment people start informed, they realize, okay, it's actually not that expensive to retire early, but they start saving less. And these reduce costs over the life cycle to retire earlier, right? So this, if you are uninformed, if you expect a high cost of retiring earlier, this is just strictly worse for an individual perspective. I'm not talking about a policymaker, but for the individual, it's just better if you know, okay, it's not going to be that expensive later. So they prepare less, they save less, and but they also spread this over the life cycle, right? They save here less, but they save here less before the retirement, and then after retirement, they actually they don't dissave as much, right? Though they hold more and bequest that. So just they spread out these gains, this reduced costs over the whole life cycle. And for yeah, retirement rate, as soon as we tell them that it's cheaper to retire earlier, they also will retire earlier. Okay, so I have 4 minutes, right? So yeah, perfect. Okay, so the summary of our results, for the first research question, we look at how do retirement age policy beliefs develop over the life cycle, and we find that people expect further statutory retirement age increases in Germany, and that they overestimate this cost of retiring early. And this uncertainty and misinformation both decreases with age. And for the question on how important these subjective policy beliefs are in evaluation of statutory retirement age reforms are. So we find that modeling this belief actually dampens the effects of statutory retirement age reforms. So the expectation leads to people already preparing for that. And with expectation management, we do find that early announcement leads to welfare gains. So both leads to welfare gains. So the earlier you tell people the truth, and of course, if you debias individuals, both leads to welfare gains. And we find several reactions on these behavioral margins. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for listening.